exciting story for you guys, so definitely I encourage you guys to be engaged. We have some amazing speaker as our keynote speaker here. I encourage you guys to ask questions, mingle with each other, and have saying that I want to speak about the theme of the conference. I want to start by saying that when I first learned that I was going to be responsible for this, I really struggled coming up with a theme, because in some aspect of myself, I'm a Latino community and the world as a whole, and we feel that we should come together and really see what the problems are, see people that are actually fighting for a cause. You know, we should network and see people that are really fighting, and we should definitely reach out to them. Having said that, I'm going to introduce our advisor, Viviana Zambrano. She really helped me and helped the LASO executive board this year with the conference and much more. So I look forward to
Buenos días. As Joel said, I'm Viviana Zambrano. I work here as the EOF counselor, and I'm also the advisor, one of the advisors for LASO. Carmen Reyes-Cuevas, who's also an advisor for LASO, is not able to be here today. But she has been here for over 20-something years, contributing and advising LASO. So I'm here today to introduce two people that are very near and dear to me. Erica Hernandez and Ana Feliciano are the co-founders of Latina Made, Not Made. I'm not going to get too much into what that is and what it's about. Some of you have heard about it, some of you kind of have an idea of what it is. But I will tell you this. These two women, when they put their mind to something, right, they do more than have a conversation. They take action, right? And that's what today is about. It's about listening to these ideas, hopefully developing some thoughts around these controversial topics oftentimes, and actually taking some action, right? Because without that action, all we're doing is sitting here and taking in information. And it's up to us, and it's our responsibility, I believe, as people who have the opportunity to be at an institution of higher education, to actually take the message outside of the classroom, outside of Montclair State, right, to other communities that may not necessarily have the resources that we do. So I ask that you give your full attention to these two women. They're dynamic, they're amazing. I have the privilege of calling them my friends, and I know that they are going to give you a very powerful message today. Thank you.
For a long time. They don't expect you to look like me. They don't expect Miss Martinez to teach English. And I had instances where a parent sat down in front of me and said, well, I don't know why my son is failing Spanish. And I'm like, you gotta go ask Miss Aguero, because I teach English. I don't know. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Fast forward, and I now am a writing professor at Seton Hall University, and I still kind of go up against those same stereotypes, because they don't think that a Latina is able to teach other people about the English language, the ins and outs of the English language. So I do that, and I also am a program coordinator for an education technology company called Innovations for Learning that helps students in kindergarten, first, and second grade become proficient readers. There are many statistics that show that if a child is not reading proficiently by the end of second grade, they are more likely to go to jail, especially if you are Black and Latino. So literacy is my passion, and also fighting back stereotypes in our community are definitely my passion. So again, thank you so much for having us today. And I'll introduce my partner in crime.
My name is Erica Hernandez. I'm first generation American. Both my parents are Cuban, so I'm Cuban American. I am an event planner, coordinator. I've been doing it for about over 15 years now. I started in the industry as a retail party supply store, and then I moved over and branched into just event planning and designing, where I ran my own company for almost 8 years. I was born and raised here in New Jersey, in Hudson County. Me and Anna and I actually are friends since we've been in the 6th grade together. So we went to middle school and high school together. And I am now, most currently, a Florida resident. I moved to Florida back in October to work for a nonprofit organization as an event coordinator. But in 2 weeks, I will start as the event and content manager for BoxyCharm. If you're not familiar with BoxyCharm, they're a beauty subscription box that sells full-size beauty products. That's basically it. I'm a mom of two, and that's it. That's all there is. So we want to get you guys to think about stereotypes as Latinos, right? Even non-Latinos, as minorities. The current political climate, the current climate in our country wants to get us into the frame of mind that we're not good enough, right? That we're only part of a subsect of people that are, criminals and not contributing to our society and not making our world better. Those are the types of things that are coming from the right, the middle, different kinds of political people on the spectrum. But we want to encourage the fact that you being here, you being Latinos in higher education and trying to pursue careers and professions and passions, we are out there. It's just that perception is reality, and they want to keep throwing that perception at us, and we have to fight back and show them that, no, that's not true. So one of the people that's doing that right now is John Leguizamo. Has anybody gone to see his play, Latino History for Juan? That's the title, right? So his whole play kind of has the same MO as our movement, which is like, wait a minute, we're not just this, right? We're not just maids in Hollywood, right? That's the part that we're attacking, but there are many other stereotypes, right? Like criminals or illegal immigrants and all of these other things. So he talks. I think that before the video, let's just explain a little bit about what Latina made, not made is, for those that, you want to do that now, or you want to play the video first? Okay, go ahead. And then we'll explain.
Well, I mean, this neighborhood formed me, I mean, the experiences that I had here, I wouldn't trade for anything, because then I wouldn't be who I am. Hey, man, what's up? How you doing? What's up? Good to see you, too. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? When we first moved here, we all lived and slept in one room and in one bed. Then the next year, we got a place where my brother and I slept in the living room, and the next year we just did better and better until eventually I got my own room. Well, now I don't. I share with my wife, so I don't have my own room now. But I had great experiences. My first kiss was at 89th Street Park. I remember that. Losing my virginity was here. It was all very beautiful. And she knows who she is. Thank you very much for putting up with me. I was accepted by a group of kids that made me feel like somebody when I was being told I was nobody. You watch television and we were totally invisible and absent. You go to school and there's not one mention, one name, one article about Latin contributions to your country. So everywhere you're going, you're getting this messaging that you're worthless in a way. I'm not included there with the heroes. I don't have anybody that I can say that that's me, that's my people. That I did not know enough about my ancestry to pass on to my kids. 1000 BC, we had Mayans, and then we have now. I've always loved history, but I didn't realize it was going to make me feel so much. I really didn't. People feel comfortable disrespecting us in a way that's just not normal or natural. And I start to think that, it's because our contributions aren't in history textbooks. But what happened in the 3,000 years between our great indigenous civilizations and us, man? Did we just stop existing? We had generals in the American Revolutionary War, Mexicans, Cubans fought in the Revolutionary War. Why is all our art called folk art, and then all of European art is called fine art, and then modern art is just our folk art gentrified? So when I'm learning this stuff, I get so emotional, man. I sometimes I'm brought to tears. Sometimes my fist is I want to go out there and fight, to put these things back into history textbooks.
Can I use this here?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hola, hola, ¿cómo está todo mi colombiano? Un abrazo. I mean, we're in the nexus of my demographic. So, it's going to happen here a little bit more. Oh, I mean, it's beautiful, and all those people came up to me on Junction Boulevard. I mean, they're so genuine. and you can feel that they're seeing themselves in a way. You know, I mean, that's more what I feel. That they see one of their own and they own you, and I'm okay with them owning a piece of you.
And I already had my pre-planned outfit. And the night before the event, Miss Zambrano gives me a call, and she's like, okay, so I'm just calling to confirm, do you have any questions, this, that, the third, whatever. Side note, I have an Etsy shop. If any of you are familiar with Etsy, I have an Etsy shop where I sell party and celebration and lifestyle and t-shirts and stuff like that for women in transition. So whether you're getting married, you're getting divorced, you're starting a blog, all my products are aimed to women in transition. So back to the phone call, she's like, oh, so what are you wearing? And I was like, well, I got a nice, business casual dress, a pair of heels, what else am I supposed to wear? She goes, I really think you should wear one of your own shirts. And I was like, I don't know, because, I don't want to mix one thing with the other. Because I was here to kind of inspire women and share with them my knowledge on how to convert your passion into a career, because that's how I became an event planner. And dragging in a business along with it, like I don't want to be a walking billboard. She's like, no, it's okay. Wear one of your shirts, and whatever else. And I was like, all right. She's like, it's a very laid back day. It's a very laid back, casual speaking. So just a t-shirt is fine. I said, okay. If I come up with I said, okay, no problem. I'll wear a shirt. Now going back, I was searching through all the shirts in my inventory. And it just so happened that I didn't have a shirt that aligned with the theme of the event. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to wear a shirt that has nothing to do with what we're doing. So I spent the whole day breaking my head looking for something to put on a t-shirt for this one speaking engagement here in Montclair. I thought Latina, empowered mom. I thought of everything. I needed something that had to do with business, passion, Latina, and try to get something on a shirt. And finally, after going a whole day, this is the night before I had to be here, it was like 10 o'clock at night, a friend of mine gives me a call, and she's like, hey, how are you? And I was like, I'm fine. And she was like, what's wrong? You sound kind of stressed. And I'm like, well, I've been thinking. I told her the whole story about the speaking engagement and my teaching and whatever. And she goes, why don't you just do Latina Me? And I was like, oh, I like that. And I didn't think anything else of it. Like, I didn't think, like, what she was trying to say by it. I didn't think nothing. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to think about it, but I probably will use that. And I hung up the phone with her. And as I do with any idea that I get or that's presented to me or anything like that, I always search for it. Because I don't want to be copying somebody else or replicating somebody else's work. So I got it, before I went and did my t-shirt, I got on my computer, I went on Google, and I typed in Latina Me. And to my surprise, it's not the result that you guys got there today. The result was, if you wanted, while I'm speaking, you can search through Bing or Yahoo or another kind of search engine. The results were, first thing was, I got a suggestion from Google that I searched the word Latina Me, M-A-I-D, followed by a bunch of links of porn sites featuring Latina cleaning ladies, memes. When I then decided to click on the image search, it automatically just changed Latina M-A-D-E to Latina Made M-A-I-D, and everything that came out there was from anything from devious maids to maids in sexy, Latinas in sexy maid costumes to older ladies, Latinas cleaning houses, and things like that. And I stopped and I'm like, there's something wrong with this. Either way, I didn't find a shirt that said Latina Made, so I kept on going because I was tired, it was midnight already, and I had to be here early. So I did my shirt, I came to the speaking engagement, it was a wonderful and successful event. And at the end of the event, a lady comes up to me and she's like, oh, do you sell those t-shirts on your website? And I said, no, I actually just made it yesterday for today. And she goes, well, if you decide to sell it, I'm going to keep up with your site and hopefully I want to get one. But how did you come up with that? So I explained to her my whole story the night before. And she, just by the expression on her face about what I said about the result, she was like, I really need that shirt. You should really sell it. I left it alone. But that kind of, I left Montclair, I drove home, on my way home, and that kind of like stuck with me, her reaction, because her reaction was just like mine. And it just kind of like, you know, like when something just bothers you, it just like, it's like a thorn, just like in your heart, like it's just not. And I pull over right in the middle of the Garden State Parkway, in the middle of traffic, cars are flying by, I put on my emergency lights and I go on Facebook and I put a Facebook post. Can everyone stop what you're doing and please search the result, Latina Maid, screenshot your result and leave it on my account. And every single person that did it got the same result. And the reason why I did that was because I was like, well, maybe my computer is rigged. And it's only me. Maybe my kids were searching something they shouldn't be searching for, you know? Whatever. And then once I saw that everybody got the same result, then it started to bother me. Then I started getting angry. And the more and more I thought about it, I was like, this is a problem. And it's like Ms. Zambrano said earlier, when there is an issue and there's a problem, we either have a choice of changing it, putting our anger or being upset about it into something good, or we can just be angry momentarily and hopefully something else will happen that'll get us angry and we forget about it. Because that's what life is. Something happens, we all get riled up, we're all protesting, we're all complaining, we're all upset, but then when something else happens, then we forget about the first thing, with gun control. Everybody gets rolled up when there's something, a school shooting, and then when a few months go by, it's over. Now we needed to have a school shooting in Florida and have students stand up and make a difference for things to start changing. So we have those options. So the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, it just bothered me. And late at night, I got home, I sent her a text, and I said, as soon as you have a few minutes, I need you to call. And I just texted her because I know she has 2 kids, and she's busy, and she's a professor, and she's fabulous, and whatever else. And whatever. So Miss Thing over here waits to call me like at 10:30 at night. And I'm here dying, like looking at my phone, when is she gonna call, when is she gonna call? So she finally calls me half asleep, and I'm like, she's like, yeah, what's up? Because every time I'm the
She
girl
does that a lot, by the way.
Because I'm the girl that every time I have a great idea, you call your friend from 24 years, right? Isn't that the way it's supposed to work? All right. So she calls me like at 10:30 and she's like, what now? And I said, so, and I'm telling her the whole story, but I'm like rambling. And she's like, okay, so what do you want to do? And I said, well, I think we should make t-shirts. And we should have a website that has the women wearing our t-shirts with our story. And we can change the algorithms. And I'm going on and on and on and on and on about ideas. And she's like, okay, I'll let you know, but it sounds like a good idea. All right. So the next day, Miss Beauty, well, I guess when she got her full rest, and she went on her computer,
I was awake.
and she was awake, she typed in Latina Maid onto her search, and she got the same exact result. And she calls me, and she's like, I'm in. As long as we don't get in trouble, or we don't go to jail, or none of that, I'm in 100%, because I'm one of these people, when I go and jump, I jump without thinking of what the consequences are. And she knows that about me. So I'm like, she's like the fisherman with the bait. She's always reeling me in, you know, and I'm the shark, like, trying to, like, get out of the water and off the bait. So she said, we're in. So that was Latina Maid, Not Made, and that's how we started. Our website launched back on May 10th of 2017. We literally launched our site in 4 weeks. We reached out to 10 women. One was a lawyer, another one was a doctor, another one was a teacher, another one. We reached out to 10 different women from either the area, we had some in Florida and whatever, and we launched our site with 10 women wearing our shirts and telling the story. And that was all we wanted to do. All we wanted to do was to have women purchase our shirts and share their story. Because if you know anything about internet and website, as long as you tag and you use the right SEOs or whatever, eventually the more views you get, you start changing the algorithms of the search engines, right? So that is what we started basically with. We were missing a few words there. And that was Latina Made, Not Made. Along with the fact that I am a big philanthropist, I believe in always giving back. And because Anna is an English professor or an English teacher, and education to her is really big, we decided that the portions of our proceeds, because we both have jobs, we both make our own living, would go into a Latina Made, Not Made scholarship fund which would send hopefully very soon first generation Latina to college. So it's not only about a t-shirt, it's not only about making money, because a lot of people are like, oh, so you must be doing great because these t-shirts are going, and it's not. Anna and I have not seen a dime from Latina Made, Not Me. All we do is replenish the inventory that has gone and save the money for that one Latina or two Latinas or whatever else. Since then, just to run really quick, since then our website has now become, I don't know, can you type it up? Our website, in a year, we have accomplished. In a year, we, as you have seen, we have changed the algorithm of Google. So no longer when you search Latina Made, you will get the results that I got. If you go on Yahoo, we're not dominant as we are in on Google, but we do come up as the first 3 or 4. And on Bing, we're on number 1, but there's a lot of work to do. Reality is there's 12 major search engines, and we are on a mission to change every single one of them. Because we all know, especially you guys as students that are working towards a degree, a career, a brighter future, that we are just more than needs. And there's nothing absolutely wrong with it, but it's not what we should be stereotyped as, because not all of us are. So right here is our website. This is our current website. It's a huge difference from what it was, a few months ago. Now our website has fully developed into a resource place or a home for Latina content. So if you're
just to add to what Erica was saying, in less than a year, we started in May of last year. In less than a year, we've been featured in the Huffington Post, Latina magazine, as well as BuzzFeed, and we now have about 6 to 8 regular writers and contributors that write on our website, from everything ranging from education, career, motherhood, womanhood, politics. So it's really become the real conversation that we initially wanted.
And it's basically that conversation is changing the narrative. And how do we change the narrative? Is by every one of us sharing our story. So that is Latina Made, Not Made, and what we have done in a year. And like I said, there's still a lot of work to do. Our main goal is not only to change the algorithms and send a few Latina women, first generation women to college, but that we type in Latina Made, and what you see are Latinas that have made it. And we're not talking about you have to be a lawyer, you have to be a doctor. No, women that are passionate about what they do, women that are passionate to be Latinas, and women that represent our culture the way it should. When we first started this movement, you would look up the hashtag Latina, and you would find pretty much either half-naked women and just not very pleasing pictures. And there's nothing wrong with being sexy or having a sex appeal. But if you look at the hashtag now, because I'm always looking, your top 6, you might have 3 out of the top 6 that are a little more provocative or risque. But that's also changing, because we encourage Latinas, if you're in class, bored out of your head, snap a picture, use the hashtag Latina. Show the world that you are bored in class, at least you're in class. Okay? So that's basically what Latina Made, Not Made is. Moving on.
So Erica and I we put it on our IG the other day. There was a video. There was these 2 women on Fox News, and they were talking about this young man who got like 20 scholarships. Did any of you see that? Raise your hand if you saw it. Okay. He got I don't know how many scholarships to all these amazing schools. And these 2 journalists from Fox News were like, this kid took the spot of all these people. He shouldn't have applied to these 20 schools. Did anybody see that conversation with the 2? Yeah, I think it went viral. But with that, I think it may have been Remezcla or Me Too, one of those Latino-based sites. They made a video using that footage explaining that blacks and Latinos are now more underrepresented in universities than ever before. Like, there are less of us right now in higher education than ever before, and that's pretty disturbing. The fact that there was this young man who got into all these amazing schools and got scholarships to boot, and they're saying, oh, he took the spot of this many people. It's like, no, wait a minute. We're fighting against struggles, bigger struggles, than these other people that you're claiming he's taking the spot of. So just to give you a little bit of background and numbers. In 2014, there was a new low in dropout rates. So we were graduating with pretty high rates in high school. However, and although that's a great thing that we're now graduating from high school, not that many of us are going into higher education, as I mentioned before. And if we are going to college, we're going to two-year colleges, or we're starting college and we're not finishing, okay? So just keep that number, keep that information in your head. However, we do make up a huge part of the culture and population in this country, okay? So the numbers aren't adding up. With that many of us here, with that many of us in the United States, there should definitely be more of us going into higher education. And not only going into higher education, but also completing our degrees. And we're only growing. If you see here in this chart, it says Hispanic population will continue to rise as non-Hispanic white population will continue to decline. So we're only getting bigger. Now, as we talked about when we first started, perception, right? The perception is that we're criminals and we're immigrants and we're maids and we're not successful. But the numbers don't lie. We spend a lot of money in this country, okay? Whether, it doesn't matter how, we're making it, we are huge consumers. We are huge contributors to the economy. We spend a lot of money. We have a big buying power, big purchasing power. You have companies who spend a lot of money to advertise to us. You have companies that spend a lot of money to market to us, to create content in Spanish so that we spend money on their products. So we have that power, even though we're not going into higher education. We have that power because we have the numbers. So that is important. Now, we don't want to discriminate against the men in here, but this slide is for the ladies, okay? So you have 1 in 5 women in the United States is Latina. However, when you watch TV, or if you are watching something, streaming something on, let's say, like Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime or something like that, or watching a movie, only 38% of leading ladies and actresses are represented in the television shows that we watch. So that's completely disproportionate, right? If 1 in 5 of us is Latina, then the numbers should be much higher as in what we're represented in Hollywood or in the media. And even with that, when we are represented in Hollywood and in the media, what are we represented as? Think of one Latina, right? Turn and talk to the person next to you right now. What's one Latina that you think, like, she's awesome, she's amazing, on TV right now?
And then think of one that is like,
Nah.
not, but that is always going for those stereotypical Latina acts.
So one that's amazing, one that's like a really good,
Who's
like you're
representing
like
us
powerful,
well.
yeah, and one that's not.
I want to say she's bad, but like Michelle Rodriguez always goes for that physical role. I feel like she's always, in a sense, more towards the money in the representation and the meeting argument.
So she's always like police. We're also very much represented as police officers. I know the numbers, like if you Google Latinas, a lot of Latina actresses are always like police officers, or like the tough girls. Yeah. So those are good examples. Who else? Anybody good one? Anyone else?
I would
Right
say,
here in the middle.
well, to me, well, I watch a lot of movies. Salma Hayek, I think she's one that will represent women as strong and a woman that does not let a man, demand.
Her last movie was really good. Did anybody see her last movie where she like had dinner with that family?
Oh yeah.
That was an excellent role for her.
So and most of the roles that she does, I would say all of them. But I haven't seen all her movies, so I would be lying. But most of her movies,
is what got her to be who she is now. If she was to try and change that, try to lose the accent a little bit, get other roles that are more empowering and show Latina women in the strong, she might lose her fans. Like, can you actually envision Sofia Vergara as a police?
Like doing
Too
a
sexy.
series.
Like doing a serious role.
yeah.
Can you really imagine her like in heels with the gun? Estop! Like she's gonna lose a lot of fans. She's gonna lose a lot of opportunities, and she's gonna lose, a lot of money. And so, for her, that's why it's so important that you stay true to yourself, even now as just students. Because you are a walking brand. You are a representation of who you are as a person, who you are as a Latina, and who you are going to be in your career. Now, let me throw another question at you. Everybody knows J-Lo, right?
No.
And J-Lo has come a long way from being a fly dancer on in Living Color to now being on Vegas every night and doing amazing things. And I think that her life, or what she has done, has been pretty impressive. She showed how she was Jenny from the block, didn't grow up doing much, but she was determined, she was ambitious, she was hungry, and she is where she is now. But let me ask you guys a question. Jennifer Lopez now, do you think if Made in Manhattan was to be filmed now, she would take that role?
No.
Why?
Turn and talk to your partner. Turn and talk to the person next to you, and then we'll share out.
She was like, if she would have never filmed it, and it was brought to her now, the script was
No,
brought to
now
her.
it's in later life. Not it's like Jennifer Lopez is in her 20s now, her early 30s now. But like
If Jennifer Lopez was in her 40s or she was in her 20s, then that script was brought to her now in the position that she is right now.
right,
Would she take that?
all that she's already accomplished.
With the career that she has now.
Right. That's what
Any answers? Why?
I think her emotions got too much into her. Like now she thinks she's more, and she doesn't even like her Latina type of way. It's different now. Before she was more Latina.
Not true, because she's coming out with a Spanish album.
Oh, she is.
Well, I think more specifically, at the time that Made in Manhattan was made, I didn't think it was a stereotype. And I don't think it's because I was too young to notice. I think it's because people didn't talk about it and didn't realize they were being put in the box in that way. So now the conversation's going on, she obviously knows about it. She would feel very degraded doing something like that.
Yeah, I think that the political and cultural realm that we're in right now wouldn't fit. It wouldn't be well received. I think, us as Latinas would be like, we don't want to see that. I think it because of the way that we feel right now is different than I think it was made like 15 years ago.
I think it's up to Jennifer Lopez to kind of say like we shouldn't have those type of movies, right? Because if she doesn't take it, someone else will. So the movie's still gonna be made. So in that sense, I think that she needs to be a bigger voice. Because we need to make some movies.
So you think Latina actresses need to be vocal and say,
Because they're just individuals, so obviously I could say that's not my rep. I don't want to be a main on TV. Yeah, cool, but at the same time, we're Latina. You represent everyone. Like people of color, we just don't represent ourselves. We represent everyone. Versus our counterparts, they don't really have to. So it's her job to say like, nah, we shouldn't have this movie. Like maybe this is a better idea.
right.
Then she should probably work and do things like that.
And just to close up that topic, I personally think she would do it again if the roles were reversed. If she was the powerful politician and he was the bellboy. That's my opinion. That could be me, right?
We do have Latinas and Latinos that are very true to their culture and that they display their culture and they're proud of it, in many different ways. And I think for us, that needs to be something that we need to continue doing. And as you progress in your academic career and then your actual careers, when you graduate college and when you go into the workforce, you're gonna come across people that say like, oh, hey, so what is Cinco de Mayo? What does that mean? It's gonna happen. Be prepared. I've had people come up to me and ask me that, and I'm like, I'm Dominican. Like I don't know.
But I
right?
participate.
Yeah. Like,
Those are our brothers and sisters.
right. Like people are going to approach you with things that are stereotypical, with things that are, kind of offensive in a way, but it's because they don't know. So we need to be able to educate and be proud of who we are and explain to people, this is our culture, and we are many things other than, we're not just baseball players, right? Like I'm thinking of myself, I'm Dominican, they're like, oh, you guys are good at baseball. We're good at a lot of things. It's not just baseball, right? So you want to be able to have that conversation with people who want to kind of put you in a box. We're a lot of things, and that's one of the things that we want to showcase, that we do showcase on our website. We have fashion designers, graphic designers, lawyers, doctors. We have everyone. We have actresses. And if you know anyone that we should reach out to, please let us know. Because we want to show kind of like the spectrum. Like this is what Latinas and Latinos look like. We're not just what you think of us.
And we also have an end. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with the profession that you choose. My whole thing is we've gotten backlash on Instagram from people that are like, oh, you're an elitist. You're only, if you're not a college student or you're not a college graduate, then you're not supportive. And that's not true. The reason why this movement was also created was to include all Latina women. It doesn't matter where you come from. And as a college graduate, I'm not. I was just fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to know what my passion and what I love to do at a very early age, that I was able to take that time and run with it. You understand? So for us, it's about all women. So you don't have to be a college graduate to be a part of our movement. You don't have to be a doctor to be a part. You could have come from the lowest of low. You could have been living in shelters. But if you're true to yourself, you've maintained integrity, your morals, your values, and you've done something with your life, that has to be admired. That has to be shared. Understand? So, just wanted to share.
These are some of the things that we thought kind of represented us, right? Those are the things that, like, when you close your eyes and you think back, like, to your abuelita's house, or your tia's house on Sundays, what are the things that deep down in your heart, as you grow older, the things that you want the next generation, and we were just talking about that. I mean, we're not that much older than you guys, but we are older, obviously. So for us, we feel like, we wonder, are you guys getting the same experience that we are, right? Like, do you have that same exposure? So turn and talk to the person next to you. What are some of the things that to you kind of resonate and you feel like this is what it means to be Latino or Latina? And look at the ones we have up there, and then what would you add to this list?
Oh my God. All right, did you think of any? Come on, shoot them at us.
What would you add?
What would you add?
The chancla. We don't have it up here? No.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I have two boys, believe me. The chancla is alive and well. What else?
Anybody else?
Jesus candles or San Miguel candles. Or, I mean, insert saint. It's a candle.
One more?
What
Anybody
else?
else? Rice and beans.
Dancing, novelas. Who said novelas? Yeah.
That's now. Where we didn't grow, Caso Cerrado didn't exist. We had Don Francisco.
Cristina. Yeah, we had Cristina. Cristina was like Caso Cerrado back in the day. And Don Francisco's still on, I heard. Like, he has like a Saturday generation 2. Like, 2.0, we'll pass you on now. Anything else?
Oh, I was gonna say, like something that I've seen on social media, like a hardworking like woman or man's hands. Like I always feel my mom and my dad's hands, and they're very rough, and then they feel my hands, and we're like, you know, we do this, so your hands can be like this.
Oh, beautiful. Very true. My mother, she sees my hand, she goes, pero tú no haces oficio. Yes, I do.
I just wear gloves.
Yeah. Okay. So which one upset you the most?
For me, it was the cholo one because as a Mexican, there are cholos y cholas. It is a culture, but the way the media represents us is like we're just drug dealers, we're just people of gangs, and it's not really that. It's a whole different story. It's behind being a cholo or chola. It's a different culture in the Mexican culture, but the way the media represents us is like we're just gang members and that's it, and it's not it. That's not the whole story behind us. There's a
more
whole
behind
different
that.
story and history behind
That's not being told.
that we shouldn't be ashamed of, but we are. Even some Mexicans are ashamed, like, oh yeah, that's a bad thing, but we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with what Lou said, but like from a different perspective, because I'm Colombian, and like I tell people that, like who are not like Latino or Latina, they'll be like, oh, like your family sells drugs, you're in the cartel, all this. I'm like, what? Like they're like, oh, like your great grandparents probably did that and stuff like that. Or they'll be like, Colombia's so dangerous, like why you go over there and stuff like that. And then like my last name is Castro, and then they'll be like, you're related to a dictator. I'm like, I'm not even Cuban, so like, there's no correlation there, but like stuff like that. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Go ahead. Mine was the harlot. It just bothers me and clean. And I think what bothers me and something I talked with my dad about is like, el trabajo es trabajo, you know. If there's trabajo in the house where you can clean and that's how you can make your money for a living, for food on a plate, then that's it, you know. And I hate the fact that Latinas are so associated with maid, criada, and I'm just like, it's just a job where we're just trying to make money.
Right. Especially when, I mean, think about it. When you come to this country and you don't speak the language, and maybe you have a degree in your country, but it means absolutely nothing here. And I'm sure a lot of you have sympathy for that because your parents may have gone through that and you mind it. You have to do what you can, right? Like Alondra was just saying, like if you come here and you want to make a better life, you come here and you start a family and you have children, you have to be able to provide in some way, shape, or form. But what we want to say is that as our legacy continues to grow in this country, that's not all that we are. right? We are so much more than just that. Like many of our tias, tios, grandmothers, parents, grandparents, they did that so that we can be here, right? But we want to continue to show, like, now we're here. We may have started here, but now we're also here.
Going off of like the maid thing, I feel like when maids are like Latina maids are like more Americanized. Like here, they're just like they're your servants. They have to clean for you. But like when I go back home to Colombia, and we have a lady like my aunt and uncle, but like they're like your family. You know, like they'll wake you up like, what do you want for breakfast? Like I'll make it for you. Like yeah, like they're kind of like they'll clean for you, but like they're not just like you boss them around and they're like a slave to you. So I feel like it's just different. It's like versus how we see like maid and then how it gets Americanized.
Definitely.
And you know what the crazy part of it all is that nowadays, if you look at who really is a maid, we're a minority. Because I one day was walking through New York and I was seeing these ladies pushing carts, you know, nannies. Let's start with nannies. And you could tell, you know, the kids were either Asian or they were Caucasian, and you could tell that they weren't related. And that one day, I just sat and people watched. And I was looking, I was by Central Park, and you see the nannies with the kids and the thing. And if I saw one or two Latina women, that was a lot. That was a lot. I saw a lot of more black women, more Asian women, you know, Russians or Polish, but I didn't see as many as you would normally see maybe 5 or 10 years ago. You know, the other day I was at Target, and I wear my shirt all the time, you know, like, you know, sweatpants and t-shirt. This is my t-shirt all the time. And I was at Target, and I'm minding my own business in the aisle, looking at things, but I'm like kind of in an angle. There's a Caucasian man on the other side, same aisle, but on the other side with a lady. And I see him on the corner of my eye looking at me, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And he's with an older lady, he's with a woman, they were an older couple. So whatever, so me being who I am, I grab myself, I throw it, and I just purposely walk by him. And he looks at me, he goes, so you don't clean? And at first, I didn't catch it because I wear my shirt so often that it's like, and he's like, so you don't clean? And I turned around and I said, excuse me? And he goes, your shirt says that you're not a maid. I go, I'm not a maid. But if I invite you to my house, you'll see it's immaculate. And he was like, so what is that about? So I told him a little bit, and then his wife comes out behind him, and she's like, I'm Mexican. And I love everything about your movement. And right there in Target, she went on her phone, got on her website, and ordered a t-shirt. But it's just things like that. You understand? Like, just because I'm wearing a Latina really not made doesn't mean that my house looks like a mess. I don't clean, and it's more than that. Okay? So that is just a story that I wanted to share with you guys because I was like, just like, so you don't clean.
It's
I wish I had
definitely, if anybody has the shirt, or you know anyone that has the shirt and you wear it out, it is definitely a conversation starter. People definitely look and stop and they're like, what is that? And it just forces people to talk. If I'm wearing my shirt, I just tell people to do what we asked you to do initially. I say, take out your phone and look it up. And people are like, oh my God, really? And I'm like, yeah. And then I'll tell them like, this is what we're trying to do.
When I went to Mexico, I worked at the airport, and the security person stopped me, and he was like, I like that. And I was like, thank you.
I was gonna say, regarding the video, I think I'm more mad about the people who are not there, because I don't look like any of those people in the video, especially our Pakistan Latinos and other, we're like invisible. So it's like, okay, so you have these Latinos and they're stereotyped, but then you have other people who are not even included, right? So we're just invisible, we don't even exist. So I think that we have to start changing that because you literally think that the only Latino is someone who's from Mexico, somebody from like
More
Colombia, more
yeah.
European, little
Yeah,
straight
absolutely.
and blah blah. Like,
That's definitely on our website. If you look at the Latinas that we feature, we try very hard to have Afro-Latinas on there. I'm an Afro-Latina, like, we try to have, like, all the colors, because that is what we come in, right? We have Latinas that are blonde hair and blue-eyed, fair skin, and then we have Latinas that are black, right, and very proud of their Afro-Latina heritage. So we definitely try to have a representation of what we actually do look like. Just to wrap up, and going right off of that, with graduation coming, if you know any Latinas or even Latinos that are graduating, please encourage them to use the hashtag Latina Made Not Made, or even just Latina or Latino. Again, because it's all about algorithms and the stuff that people search for. If we tag things like that, right, like Latinos in higher education, Latinos graduating, Latinos doing great things, then again, that's what will come up when you search for us. It won't be just those stereotypes and just that bad stuff. So we want to encourage you to highlight the positive, and we have some fun sayings there, like Palante and Ponte la Fila. That's something my mother always used to tell me, right? So just keep doing what you're doing. Congratulations on being in college, and have a great rest of the semester, and good luck.
And just so you guys know, if you guys tag us on anything, we see everything. We comment back on everything. So it's a full-time job, but we are alert. So if you share a picture with us, at some point when you least expect it, it'll show up on our timeline.
And we'll ask you if we can repost it, especially if you're wearing the shirt. We love to show.
So we would like to,
What kind of social media do you guys have?
we're everything.
Oh,
Twitter.
Very easy to
IG.
find. Latina Made Not Made. The only one is in Twitter, because you only a certain amount of characters. Is Latina Made NM. But everything is Latina Made. The same way you found us on Google, you can find us everywhere. So we can't hide from you guys.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our website. And all our social is, if you go to the website, all of our social media handles are on there as well.
All right.
And for the men, if you don't want to rock a shirt that says Latina Made Not Made, we have buttons that say that have like fight Latina stereotypes, so you can support that.
And we have pencils that say I speak Spanish. I know a lot of people speak that language. So we would like to thank you for your time, for your attention, for your participation. And that's it. We're done.
I now learned my lesson, and this played a key part of the theater on the story. I used to be really ghetto, I guess. Sam's Yankee had a bit. Used to go to Lowe's, honestly. Growing up in the hood, my dad saw that me and my older brother were doing things that we shouldn't have been doing. And he wanted to take us out of the hood by moving here in New Jersey. And I had been fine. But in doing so, it was a huge risk, and he was willing to take the risk to save, to make a better life for me and my two brothers and my mom. Okay, so my life, I guess the story starts 5 years ago. After moving to New Jersey, I got a knock on the door. I remember it was May 2nd, I think it was on a Thursday, 2013. It was right after school. I got a knock on the door, and it was, I didn't know who it was. I was just assuming it was like one of my tios. So I was just being really lazy. I told my little brother to open the door, which is the biggest regret I've ever made in my life. And he goes and opens the door, and I hear a guy, deep voice. He goes, "Is your mom home?" And then he goes, "Yeah." And he's walking by me, and I kind of signal him saying, "Who is it?" He says, "He doesn't know." So in my head, I'm thinking, obviously, it's not one of my tias or tios. So it's probably someone from like Comcast or PSC&G or something. They want to talk to my mom about something. So then mom comes by, and I'm watching TV. There's like a wall here. The TV is there, and then behind the wall is the door. And I kind of walked towards the wall, and just to listen in, not to like go to the door. I want to just hear the conversation. And I hear this. I don't remember the exact words. It was a long time ago. I think it was, "Hi, Miss Pavia. We have your husband Victor's well, we were with the immigration and customs enforcement. We have your husband Victor Sakivad. He's been arrested for violating probation and being held in the detention center in Newark. Here's his bill bag, keys, and wallet." And then he gave my dad's stuff to my mom, just left. And when that happened, I was just like kind of shocked. I didn't really know, like, it was just a lot to process. And then my mom just walked by me. I think she went back to the kitchen with the stuff. I didn't really see her reaction because I was looking at my little brother who had just turned 11 at the time, a week before. He just witnessed that. He just heard all that. Even though he didn't really understand it, he understood the part that my dad got arrested. And then the reason why I really regret him telling him to open the door is because right after that, he looked out the window. And I was kind of curious to see what he was looking at, so I went on to the next window. And then I saw what he saw. And what he saw was my dad handcuffed in the backseat of an immigration van being driven away. And this was an 11-year-old witnessing that. And that's really traumatizing for him. And it really did affect him because ever since after that, he's changed. He has not been the same. And like, for one example is, because we told him about it, even though he didn't understand. And then one day, it's like late at night, and since now my dad is not around, my mom has to work more, night shifts and everything. And my mom, it's like 9 o'clock, it's pretty late. My mom's not home yet. My little brother comes to me and says, "Where's mommy?" And I told him, "I don't know, she's working." And then he starts to get worried, like, what if they call her? What if someone kidnapped her? Or like, what if something happened to her? And he starts to cry. And I told him, like, don't cry, everything's gonna be okay. But I don't know if everything was okay. She ended up coming home, and then it was just like a whole thing. Like, that's when I realized like how badly it affected him. And it was the day when all this happened, and then towards the summer, I went to go see him in the detention center. I saw him a total of 3 times. The first time I saw him it was a life-changing experience, I guess, because when I went with my older brother and like one of my Latinos, and we got there pretty early because if you wanted to see the person you wanted to visit, you have to get there really early, so it could be like in person. If you get there a little late, it'll be like the phone in the mirror window thing. So we got there really early. We got to see him. Like, we're sitting down at the table. We're waiting for him to come out. They were letting the people out one by one. It was a really big room. And my dad finally came in, we sat down, and then we weren't really allowed to hug him, or like, there were specific rules we had to follow. We couldn't have our hands in our lap or under the table. But he started to like, he did that jaw movement when he wanted to cry. And when I saw that, it was like, it was heartbreaking because I never seen my dad cry ever in my life. And like, obviously this is like crazy for him. So my uncle told him, like, don't worry, everything's gonna be okay. You know, we're trying to like be positive in this situation. But they just kept talking, and I'm just like, I can't believe like my dad is like prison closed, he's in this place and all that. I'm just like in my head, and then I hear like this loud noise in the background, and it gets louder, louder, and then I kind of like go back to reality, and then I realize the sound is people crying. It's children asking for their dads to come back home. Wives begging for their husbands to come back home. Moms begging for their sons to come back home. And I'm looking around and seeing a bunch of people crying. And I'm just like, it's a lot to take in. Like, I know I'm not alone with this situation, but I don't know any other person that's gone through this personally. And the fact that I see a lot of people are gonna go through this, it's like, it makes me, it's just a lot to take. And when we got out and we had to say goodbye to him, we ended up hugging him, even though we weren't supposed to, but I didn't think they really minded. And the second time I went to visit him, it was through the phone in the window. And we, this part was like really touching to me because it was like this, like the window, it was like we couldn't hug him, we couldn't like physically like actually be there with him. So like that was like the first time I seen him cry. Like he actually cried because like he felt like he was really being taken away from us. And then like towards the end of like our meeting, our visit, like we kind of like went a little cheesy. Like we did the hand in the window thing, and like that really like touched me. It was like, what is gonna go from here? Like what's gonna happen now? And then we went to court. We tried to see some sort of solution, and I don't really remember a lot what happened. We shared a courtroom with like a bunch of other people. The one thing I remember from this court case was a Haitian family. The guy's daughter, it was her birthday, and he wanted to say happy birthday to her, but like they weren't the people weren't there physically. It had to be like through a webcam. So we couldn't actually see them. Like we could see them, but they couldn't see us. So the father wanted to say happy birthday to his daughter, but the judge said no and just hanged up on him. And then that really like touched me. Like, how are you just gonna do that to him? Not even let him say happy birthday to his own daughter. So like that's in my mind. And I'm thinking like, how it's gonna go for us? And I don't really remember what happened. So it was just kind of like blurry in my mind. And then the third time I saw him was on August 25th, 2013. Yeah. It was on a Sunday. I told him I wanted to go see my dad. Then he goes, yeah, sure. And then he calls up one of my deals, and then he drove me to the place. And we sat down. It was just me and my deal. My dad came. We hugged him, and then they just started talking. And then he tells me something. He tells me, I have some news. He says, I'm gonna get out of here. And then, but he told me, but I'm gonna go to Texas. And then from Texas, they're gonna make me get on a bus to go back to Mexico. In other words, he's getting deported. And then when he told me that, I was just like shocked. I was like, it was just too much to take in. I didn't think it was actually true, but it was. And then I was just kind of like, I was in my head, I was just like, I didn't know what to say. So I just told him, when? And he goes, mañana, tomorrow. And I'm like, already? Like, just so soon? Like, I didn't even know this. And then I kind of realized, just like, tomorrow is August 26th. That's his birthday. And out of all days they're deporting him, it was on his birthday. And I found that to be like really like just insane. And he told me like we could pack a bag of clothes, just one bag, and just give it to him. And then if we wanted to, we could see him like get driven off from the bus. But I didn't go to that because I couldn't handle it. And me and my dad, we weren't on good terms when all this was happening, but like as it was happening, I did feel bad. Because like him as a father, it was difficult. And after all this happened, this was back in 2013, as the years went on, like, he would call every once in a while, but then it would like slowly stop. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, he's probably like has his own new life now. Like, with he lives with his mom, he probably has a new girlfriend because my parents just got separated right after that. And I'm thinking like he has his own life. And senior year in high school, graduation, it felt weird because my dad wasn't there. Like, I got my 8th grade graduation with him, but it's nothing compared to senior year. Because for us, first generation, high school, graduating, that's a big step for us. And the fact that my dad wasn't there to see me walk, it was just heartbreaking. And I didn't feel as happy as most of my classmates did. And when everybody threw up their hat and then just kind of went with their friends and their group, I went the other way with my family, my mom, my older brother, little brother, and my older brother's girlfriend. And I just went to them, just like thanked them for like being there for me. And I really wanted my dad to be there because that was a huge step for me. And then a few days later, it was EOF, and right, like, we're straight back to school. And my mom, I asked my mom for my dad's phone number because I didn't have it. And she told me, like, I'll give it to you. And then she gave me the number, and then she told me, he's gonna call you. And I didn't want him to call me because I wanted to call him, like, at a certain time, like, at the right time. And then I remember it was kind of late, and I got the call. It was like, I didn't have his number, so it was like this really long number, and I already know it's my dad. So I go out to like a quiet area, I answer the phone, and then we just start talking, having like our normal conversation like we did before over the phone. And then we start kind of getting like deep into our conversation about like why he did certain things and why did certain things happen to him. And then I learned a lot of things in that phone call, like the reason why he got deported and the true reason, and then his whole life from coming here and then becoming a husband and a father, and then how it's scary to be an immigrant at this time. And I just learned a whole, like, it opened me to a whole new experience, like a whole new point of view. Because I just looked at it my point of view, and I just thought it was just that one thing, but it's more than that. And looking at it from my dad's point of view, it's heartbreaking. And when he told me this, I told him I'm sorry, like, I didn't know. And then he apologized. We went just back and forth. And then after that, we just keep talking to each other. But like earlier when I said like how he probably has a whole new life in Mexico now, turns out it's not like that. It's the opposite. He still lives with his mom because he wants to take care of her. When he lived here in America, he was kind of like this chunky type of person. Now he's like really skinny. He's lost a lot of weight. He wore glasses, but now he can't because he can't afford it. He needs new prescriptions and everything. And he's like really depressed because his kids he can't see his kids anymore. And it's been 5 years and everything. And like he told me like he really misses us and he really wants to come back. He can't because he just wanted his mom anymore.
Every single drawing and writing had to do with a man in a uniform. All my drawings were of me crying, hiding behind a bush, hiding behind a tree, my mom was constantly called in, just trying to, understand what's happening. Why is a 7-year-old drawing, men in uniform with weapons and, just hiding and writing stories of being, trapped and locked in rooms and isolated. So elementary school was really, had to push myself, had to learn the language. I started kind of getting it a little. I started understanding that I wasn't going home and that this was home. Elementary school was really kind of like a very big point of growth for me. Again, everything's new and taking everything in. Middle school was kind of just, I got to be a teen. And I got to just kind of, I understood it by now. I got it. I knew the language. I knew the people. I knew the system. So middle school, there wasn't much. But high school, certain things happened to me as a freshman and sophomore in high school where I completely stopped caring about school. Education has always been my thing, but at this point, I didn't care. I didn't care about school. I didn't care about my friends. I didn't care about my family. I didn't care about anything. At some point, I asked myself, what am I going to do after high school? I asked myself, what's the plan for me? And I started thinking, and I started looking around, and I started noticing that I was in honor and advanced courses, and I was one, maybe out of 2 Latinos in my courses. My time is predominantly white, and I started realizing who spoke to me and how they spoke to me. I was always kind of picked on, and when people spoke to me, they spoke either very slowly or they said, "Wow, you have no accent. That's amazing." And I went through this whole thing of just, when you live a life like this, you're taught to be quiet, to be silent, fit in. You do not want to stand out, because if you stand out, people will start asking questions. And I think at this point I started looking around my peers and seeing Morristown High School is very interesting because it constantly has people coming in from different countries. Students who do not speak English at all. Students that have to leave high school to go work and provide for their families. And I started really looking at this, and I started saying, is that what I want? Do I want to, what do I want to do after high school? Do I want to just work? Or is this going to be it? I started looking at what my mother was doing. My mom worked 2 jobs, single parent, teen mom, 2 jobs. I never really got to see much of her. But I started thinking, she didn't make this trip for her. She made it for me. And how am I paying, respect and honor to that? So at some point I said, I want to go to college. I came home and I said, Mom, I want to go to college. And she told me, that's where the rich kids go. But she told me, but we'll see. We'll see what we do. We'll see what we can get. So my GPA had dropped drastically. I was always top of the class, A, B student. At this point it was C's and D's, just I didn't care. There was never a teacher, my counselor asking me, are you on track to college? Are you, what do you want to do? Nothing, ever. I remember Alex, who is now my husband, used to go here. And at the time he was a freshman, and I kept asking him, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I have nobody that went to college before me. So it was very, I just had no idea. And I kept telling him, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to get there. I remember just asking questions and emailing and calls and all these things. I applied to Montclair State University, College of St. Elizabeth, and the County College of Morris as a backup plan in case I didn't get into my other 2 choices. I remember applying to Montclair State without a social security number. I remember applying without having anything. I was the last one to apply. That's probably March, the last deadline. This was back in 2013. This is when I was heading to graduation. Knowing that, okay, 1, I might not be accepted. I don't have a social security number. 2, if I am accepted, how am I going to pay for it? 2013, DACA because it took place. I applied. It's pretty much pertaining to me. You know, again, kids that were brought here young, kids that have, you know, gone through high school or, you know, just met certain requirements. I applied. And luckily, after I got accepted to all 3 schools, my DACA comes by. Then I remember, you know, I'm emailing, I'm calling offices, and I'm like, all right, you know, DACA's going on, I got my social security, I have this, I have that, what do I do? Nobody had any idea what it was. I remember going from department to department to department to department, explaining DACA stands for this, and this, now I have this, I have that. No one could give me an answer on anything. They had no idea what was going on. Coming to school, how did I pay for it? Scholarships, cash, money. I made it a point to get as involved as I possibly could, and still making it a point to not be different, you know? I think some of you that I have either, you know, been in class with, had lunch with, or, you know, spent time with, probably this is the first time you're learning about this. Again, I was always taught to be quiet. And, you know, the question was always, how many classes are you taking? Everybody was, oh, I'm full-time, taking 4, taking 5. I was taking 1. I couldn't afford more than 1. How much is one class Montclair State cash? About $2,000. I have been in school for 4 years. I am a sophomore status. I was forced to take a year off last year because I couldn't afford it. And people kept telling me, don't take the year off. You're not gonna wanna come back. Just finish. You're already here, just finish. Part of it is, you know, because they don't know my story. They didn't understand what was happening. After being, you know, away from school for a year, people kept asking me, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? When are you coming back? I would say, when the time is right, when the time is right. And somebody, a very, very close friend of mine, actually told me, I didn't want to say I told you so, but I knew that you wouldn't want to go back to school. Stuff like that hurts, because education is my life. Going back to DACA, when DACA started, a lot of students did advanced parole, where you could leave the country legally and return legally if you had some sort of circumstance, like, you know, family emergency or, you know, something going on in your country. When DACA first started, I remember having a conversation with my mom, and she said it's been, you know, 13 years, or 12 years actually. She was saying you can go back and you can see your brother. You can go back to the land that birthed you, or you can go to school. I chose school, so I didn't go back, which then this now is affecting me because I am one of the dreamers that did not do advanced parole. Now that DACA is kind of terminated, what's left? I have 11 months to figure out how to come back to school, how to get a job that will not let me go once my work authorization expires. I have 11 months to change my status into a permanent status, or I have 11 months where I will, one, become undocumented again, or possibly leave the country. You know, it's something to just kind of think about and see, you know, ask yourself, how much time do you have? Being a dreamer, it's funny because we're called dreamers, but we're not allowed to dream high enough or big enough. You know, we don't have the resources, we don't have, you know, information that's out there for us. And, you know, I think I've had the conversation with some of you in this room where I keep telling people, you know, we're not born with the same opportunities. You know, your skin color is already, could be, you know, bad thing. Your gender could be already a bad thing. I kept telling people, if there are no opportunities, go look for them. If you can't find any, make them. And some people wouldn't understand this concept. They were saying, if, you know, we're set up, we're born without these opportunities. You can't make them, you can't find them. And I said, make them, do them, because I've done it. And I'm not saying that, you know, I myself am privileged because I made it to a state university. There are students that have not and may not. But it's always important to not make excuses. And if you are, someone who is a U.S. born citizen, who never had to think about, my education or, making it to college or going to class, some of you, I'm sure, complain about going to class, right? Those long lectures when you're just tired, you just don't want to deal with it. Just know that there's somebody out there that would do anything for that seat. Just know that you being in these, these schools, these lectures, these classes, just know that that is a seat at the table. So what are you doing to start conversations or to bring awareness? And this workshop is about immigration, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to stand up for immigration. You don't have to feel anything towards me. I don't want your pity. I don't want your, I don't want any of that. What I want you to do is to stand up for something, anything. Black Lives Matter. What are you doing about it? Water is life. Immigration is also a Black issue. Are you informing yourself? Are you passing along information? What about the earth? It snows in the morning, 60 degrees in the afternoon. What are you doing to protect your earth? What are you doing about anything? Are you even doing anything? Are you sleeping? Because it's time to wake up. Just know that, you can't see status. You can't see who's a dreamer or who's struggling, who's starving, who doesn't have a home. You can't see those things. Because you can't see them doesn't mean they don't exist. Going into more immigration and policy, Chanel joined me on Thursday for a victory. The bill A3467 just passed. What does that mean? That is equal state financial aid for not just dreamers. And dreamers doesn't mean necessarily DACA, because there are dreamers that are still undocumented. It also means that if you are a U.S. born citizen who has undocumented parents, you can now get aid. So, how many of you have posted? How many of you are part of organizations who have posted or are keeping up with what's happening? How many people have brought up the conversation or, used their social media platform to talk about our Black brothers and sisters that are being killed? Or do we just not care? And there's something where it's worse when you're just silent. And you just don't feel anything. We had someone come in with us on Thursday that was using that trip that really my life depends on it, my education depends on it, using it as class credit. I prefer for you to not come at all if you're just using me as a community service. So, this is about reflection. Maybe you're not a dreamer. Maybe your parents are the dreamers. They are the original dreamers. What are you doing to show that their sacrifice was worth it? Maybe immigration doesn't affect you, or you just don't care about it. You have to care about something. There is no worse thing than indifference. Just stand up to something, speak up about anything. Start asking questions. In 2 weeks, this bill that just passed is supposed to go to the governor's desk. He's supposed to sign it. I'm going to be calling, emailing, coming in person to these offices. Because Montclair State is a Hispanic Serving Institute. Where's that money going? How many people have been questioned, have been asked? How can we help you? How many people know your name or know your major? But how many people are using your picture on the Montclair State website to pull in all these people because 15% of Latino students means more money, more buildings? Why aren't you asking questions? School's not free. You have all these loans, you don't pay them back. So why aren't you asking? Why is it that some buildings have all this, amazing technology? Some buildings don't even have proper heat or AC. Why? You know, just because there might be a seat at the table, you're not being welcomed in to sit down. It's not meant for you. You know, if you're an immigrant, you're a person of color, you're not supposed to be here. You're not. And if you drop out, nobody asks questions. You know, I was a student leader and part of honor societies. How many people from the administration, from the faculty, even students have come up to me and said, why aren't you going to school? How can I help you? Is there information? Is there something I can do? Rutgers, Newark has a office that just provides services and information for, you know, just undocumented students. I have to pay an international fee, even though I can never leave the country, and I never left the country. I get emails of going to go see the Statue of Liberty, going to New York City, Saturday trips for Montclair State. But I still check Montclair State website, and there's still, what, maybe 5 paragraphs about what was happening in regards to immigration last year, 2017. Gotta start doing something. We are called the biggest sleeping giant. We have numbers. If you're a student leader, you have numbers, you have money, you have a voice. Even if you're just a student in general, why aren't you doing anything? You know, and I may come off as, you know, strong, maybe a little aggressive, because you know what, I'm tired. I am so tired of hearing another, you know, black kid just being shot down 20 times. I'm tired of hearing we need a wall, we need to secure our borders as a tactic to distract us of what's happening right here. So, you know, again, you don't have to care about immigration. Most of us here are women. You know, think about that. Our vaginas are for sale. Our means of reproduction. You know, whether you're religious or not, whatever you believe in, you might not have a choice. If you're raped and you're pregnant, you might have to have that child. You don't have that choice. That gets taken away from you. You know? And there's things out there. You just have to be able to push away a little bit. Being here, a lot of it is campus life, student life. In a way, it gets you, blocks you from everything that's happening out there. So just start asking questions, start a conversation, post something, do anything. I'm pretty sure I've gone over my time.
Porque ya tú no me tocas como lo hace esa mujer. Algo me anda bien. Escucha las palabras. Esta noche me hago el interrogante. Pongo fin a la impostora, usurpadora. Excedo contigo una entrevista que sospecho.
times. And I mean, I've had to be humble regardless my whole life, but if I get to the stage where I'm in a position of authority, I gotta remember to remain humble. So, more into like the more current times, came to college, I decided Montclair, probably like most of you, is something that was affordable, something that was close by, something that was able to help you succeed in life or get you a degree at least. So I actually started off as a computer science major because I just wanted to enter a industry that was high paying. That's really what my goal was, just to be able to, in some way, shape, or form, repay my parents. And for me, that was through income or money. I quickly found out that I wasn't happy going through that route, so I changed into a finance major. So I took, and throughout that time, I realized that it was important to take advantage of every opportunity that came my way. So I just couldn't just like say, all right, I'm gonna be a good student. I have to do more than that. So it's something that I always had in mind. But in addition to that, I was an uncertain student. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I didn't know if I was gonna actually be successful. I didn't know if I was gonna be happy. So it was things that crossed my mind. So I had to find a way to change from there. So it really changed my life because it allowed me to enter a world that I never imagined. So I don't know if you guys have any connections to corporate America, but I didn't. My parents didn't know anybody in corporate America. I don't know anybody in corporate America up until I entered this organization. And when I entered, it was people that were working at like the best companies you can think of, the best banks, J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Johnson & Johnson, and for like engineering, Eli Lilly. There's people that were super successful in their fields and still young. So just me meeting these people like changed my life, changed the way I looked at school, academics, professionalism, and it was something that I needed. It gave me exposure to different industries, like I said, from finance to computer science to engineering and whatnot, which is something I needed because that's where I kind of was able to shift my interest from technology into business, specifically finance. And through the years, it was a 2-year program. I'm still in it. Actually, I have like a month left. And they gave me a lot of advice on like preparing for interviews, on making sure your resume is good, on networking skills and whatnot. So I took everything that they gave me and I absorbed it like a sponge and try to use it in real life situations as well. And like I said, I took advantage of every opportunity that came my way. So, and this is another example of how this is a program that whatever you give in, you get back. So I gave in everything I possibly could. Events in October of last year, and they have all these people, lawyers, bankers, and all these people who are wealthy. And I was able to go ahead and speak in front of them on behalf of the New Jersey class, which is a great experience. And and more importantly, it provided me with resources that are not available at Montclair, which is something that I feel strongly about. And every time I talk to anybody, I feel you have to do a little bit extra when you go as a student at Montclair, because Montclair doesn't provide you with what you need. You got to go out there and search for more. And you might find it in school, but most likely, the bigger your goals, the more likely it's going to be that it's going to be outside school. So the next steps after joining America Needs You is that I landed an internship at ADP, which is, if you guys ever get a check, it probably says ADP in the corner. So they're like a huge multi-billion-dollar company. And I just since I was considering finance, I was like, let me get my hands in the field and see how I like it. And I learned that finance was very broad, so then I kind of narrowed it down. And through that time, I also did a startup academy or entrepreneurship program in Austria, which is a class that they have here. It's Entrepreneurship Class 201, if you guys are interested. Every spring they have a class that goes to Austria, and they go study over there, the startup environment over there and whatnot. I also did something else similar to that in Portugal for 3 weeks in July to August, and those are great experiences. But I was able to narrow down where I wanted to go in finance, and it's called investment banking. It's basically a very super intense career that really, in the past and still right now, they only really recruit out of Ivy Leagues, and it's for a reason, because the work is very intense. They work damn near 100 hours a week every week. So something that I put my mind to, and I was able to land an internship. So I'm going to be working on Wall Street this summer at Bank of America Merrill Lynch, right next to Times Square. And I feel very accomplished, because getting to that point was super difficult, because I don't like to look at it as my competition, but the kids that were applying for the same roles, the kids that come from Harvard, Cornell, NYU, Columbia, and I see it more as an honor because now I get to call these people my peers, and I'm going to be sitting next to a kid that goes to Cornell, and they might be better than me in terms of like academics and what resources they had. So, I look at it that way because then I'm going to be able to learn from them. And this is going to get into what I'm going to talk about like the second half of this speech, is that they don't have the same mentality as me. So I feel like that's what makes me different, and that's how I'm going to be able to shine. So I just want to talk a little bit about what it means to be a Latino today, or what I feel it means to be a Latino today. And the sad reality of it is that the system is not set up for us to succeed. It's not. More than anything, it's based on history and based on a bunch of experiences in the past, from slave trade to the civil rights era to immigration issues right now. It's set up to benefit the white male more than anybody else. And because of that, we're at a disadvantage. Those statistics, white households possess $10 for every dollar that a median Latinx household. It basically means for every dollar we have, they have $10. And that just might be, just a signal of wealth, but it's a lot more, it's deeper than that. The reason that it's like that is because of historic injustices, like I said before, with slavery and immigration right now. So the more those issues come about, the further back we're pushed back. So we kind of had to be aware of all those things and not let it push us back.
Yeah, so like pushing forward, get to push forward.
Exactly. For me, I look at it as a source of motivation because, like I said, the system's not set up for us to succeed, like quite literally. Like if you look at it, we come from low-income neighborhoods. Some of us come from the hood, some of us come from the projects, right? When you grow up in those environments, they're literally like, there's no way out unless you start selling drugs, or if you start acting differently, then you could possibly make your way out, but that's a danger itself too. So it's like, how do we make it? There's definitely ways of doing it, but it requires a lot more thinking and strategizing than, if you grew up in a comfortable white neighborhood. They're able to do what they want to do without having to think about surviving, at least. We also have to deal with the common misconceptions that the wealth gap's the reason that we're so poor and they're so wealthy is because of the decisions that we make, which is not really true. Like I said, we're placed in these environments where it's a lot more difficult to succeed. The way I look at it is that we have the same right to go and get the same jobs that they do, but we don't have the same opportunity, right? They have a lot more resources, they know a lot more people and whatnot, so it's something that we deal with as Latinos. And even if you follow the traditional path, which is like, going to school, getting a degree, even getting your master's, living with both your parents at home, a happy family and whatnot, it's not going to give you the same results as if you were a white American. It's like, we're at a disadvantage, like I said. It's do or die I don't know about you guys, but for me it's do or die. Like, I can't just say, I'm going to go try to do this, and if it doesn't work out for me, it doesn't work out. No, for me it's not like that. If it doesn't work out for me, then I can't just say, okay, I'm going to go back home and rely on my family. That's not it. Because at the end of the day, I look at it as I have to provide back to them. So it's do or die for me. If I don't get this right, then I'm screwed. And that's the side we have from many of us. And just basically the fact that we're just underprivileged. We have to acknowledge that fact. But at the same time, we can't take control of our lives because we've definitely seen the several stories of rags to riches, from Jay-Z to 50 Cent, from Oprah, and all these people that have been able to do it. I read an article about 2 years ago, and there's a line that stuck with me a lot. It says, you know how the genuine confidence that you belong, you're in survival mode rather than achievement mode. And by belonging, it just means that, if you go back to your home country, they can spot you out as American like this. If you go back, if you're in America, they can spot you out as a Latino, as different, as underprivileged like this as well. So there's never that feeling of feeling settled and confident, for the most part. You have to develop that. And because of that, we're always in this survival mode, as opposed to being in a cool mode where we can just feel like we can do anything, and even if it goes bad, then we'll be okay. So that's something that stuck with me that was very important. And we just have to acknowledge that's the way it is, and to a certain point, it's out of our control, but we can make the best of it, use it as motivation. You have to make your disadvantages an advantage. Be an outlier. I don't know if you guys ever read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell that we recommended. Basically saying that certain circumstances and at certain times. I'll give you an example. Bill Gates, when he was younger, everyone knows Bill Gates because he's the multi-billionaire who created Microsoft, right? But for him to get to that point, there was a lot behind it. It wasn't just like a natural thing that happened. It was because Bill Gates was destined to create Microsoft. It was not that. He happened to be born in a good neighborhood where the first computer science school was created, and because of that, he was able to go and enter those schools and practice his computer skills for hours and hours and hours. Not everyone has that same opportunity, but because Bill Gates did, he was able to develop that knowledge over time and then use that to create Microsoft. I see myself as an outlier. Yeah.
So, but it's like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs created Apple.
Yeah. I don't know much about Steve Jobs and his story, but it's probably similar. I think.
I think they mentioned Steve.
Yeah,
they
right.
mentioned it.
Yeah, but he had a similar.
Towards the end.
Yeah, similar background where you just had the opportunity to go and learn what he learned.
All right, we're gonna start this off properly, people, and I'm gonna give you some motivation. I need some sound, guys.
Behind you. Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
Wow. It's all the way up. That's okay. I think you're gonna get the gist of it.
In the computer.
And
Can you play it again?
One more time. That's making sounds, all right, the ding, 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 and then I say, drop the mic. She is something else. And she is present. See, the reason she's present as my son is as well is because growing up, I don't know if you guys can tell, I don't exactly look Puerto Rican. Right? What does Puerto Rican look like? Growing up, I was not considered that guy, your typical Puerto Rican. But before I start, whenever I speak, I always say a prayer. And I say it to myself, and I try to hold true to not having my ego present, but having myself be an instrument of information and to assist in what has been given to me so freely. This is a book by Don Miguel Ruiz. I don't know, has anybody heard of the 4 Agreements? This was given to me by my business partner's son who was 3 years old for my 50th birthday. Okay, talk about having wisdom. But I wanted to read something to you before I started. Yeah, I know. Yeah. We make the assumption that everyone sees like the way we do. We assume that others think the way we think, feel the way we feel, judge the way we judge, and abuse the way we abuse. This is the biggest assumption that humans make. What are the 4 assumptions? Or should I say agreements? The 4 agreements are: 1, be impeccable with your words. 2, don't take anything personally. 3, don't make assumptions. And 4, always do your best. That's the type of material I read because I am a Puerto Rican with a purpose. Okay? Are we talking? Are we listening? I think you guys are. The older generation, they tend to be quite closed. See, I'm going to tell you guys some stories, but I think you already know what has occurred. And please don't be offended. I think every single Latino is family, okay? That's just family. I don't care if you're from Guatemala. I don't care if you're from Mexico. I don't care if you're an Indio Blanco like myself, a white Indian, okay? Things affect us. And they affect us at a high emotional reality. This is what had occurred in Puerto Rico, and it still is. Did you know, just last night, just reported, a tree fell in Puerto Rico, and 900,000 people are without power. 900,000. It's ridiculous. This should not occur, but it does. And I said, and as I show about leading, I am a true leader. And I don't say that with any conceit or reservations. I have to leave. That's why I have my family. I do believe in the spirit of the Latino. That's me. And that's my mom. See, I'm going to take you on a conversation, and it's going to be painful, because that was just my story. That was a conversation they had with me. See, I don't know if you noticed, but my mother is not only beautiful, but she's a white woman, okay? I consider myself sort of Barack Obama-ish, you know, Puerto Rican and white, okay? I like that because I get to understand both sides of the tracks, okay? See, growing up, I was, you know, look, blonde hair. My mother had blonde hair. So, Latinos didn't like me because I didn't speak Spanish. My mother's Scandinavian, okay? She doesn't know Spanish. She can't teach me something she does not know. My father is Trigueño, Puerto Rican, but he wasn't around to teach me Spanish. That's my story. That was a conversation he was having with that woman. My mother is, unfortunately, a woman who came from a lot of dysfunction, okay? A lot of mental illness. And she showed it in, unfortunately, a lot of ways on how she reacted to the world. But see, what I did not know was that as a female, they are the most persecuted people on the planet. And yet, you're the largest, the most creative. I can't make those babies. That beautiful Latina right there made that. I just assisted in the front of it, okay? No, I wasn't going to do that. That's later for, you know, we have coffee. Okay? We have to have these conversations. We have to tell these stories. Indians told stories. They taught their children stories, and they learned. But when you have dysfunction pushing everybody away, how are the stories ever going to be told? How are we going to have conversations? There is no possibility of standing up. There's not even an idea of standing up. So, you know, I hope to shed some light on what I went through, and in that, I hope you pull from it something inspirational, because that's what I do. I try to inspire people to be, I don't know, their original, genuine, awesome version of who I believe the Great Spirit intended us to be. So my mother worked very hard. She had 2 boys, my brother and myself, and who names a Puerto Rican Howard? That's my brother. I mean, my father wanted us to fit in. My name is Mark, his name is Howard. He wanted us to be able to assimilate and not be judged by society's views of who we were at the time. I'm 51, I'll be 52 in October. I was born in 1966. And I say that because Latinos don't look like me, not at this age. And there's a reason for that, and we're going to get into that. Ah, there she is, the matriarch of our family, Maria Rivera. 3rd grade education, 12 kids. 3 sets of twins. All of them died except for 1. 4 kids survived. 1 was my father. He was the youngest. This woman was amazing in so many ways, but yeah, she was the wrong color in her time, unfortunately. Politically, she was not what you would call a person who was going to get a job well, they didn't give jobs to women at that time at a high level. She worked in the factory making nothing. So you know what she started to do? She started to run numbers, which is illegal. But she had to make money. She had to take care of her kids. Because my grandfather, he decided that, you know, having only 1 woman was not what it was about. And there's a picture of my grandfather. There are none. I can tell you this about my grandfather. He was from Spain, and he was about this tall, and he was very charismatic. I mean, the guy was amazing. Entrepreneurial spirit. So did my grandmother. She had it too. Think about it. She was running numbers and taking care of all the kids in the neighborhood on 109th Street and Broadway in New York City. Everybody, bless you. Everybody knew my grandmother. They loved her. She was the... You guys know how it is when you're well, all right? You come over, you're eating, even if you already ate, right? That's what we have as a spirit as Latinos. We have a spirit that moves us. So why can't we get it? Why can't we get it right? Food for thought. You don't get it right. We're doing it right here, right now. See, he gave me something. He gave me an understanding. He gave me an understanding that he was a leader, even though he went to prison. He went to prison for killing a man. He killed a man because he stole from his store. And for a long time, I was like, wow, you know, he's just a criminal. But I had to dig deeper. I had to have conversations. But there was nobody around. Remember, I told you my father was gone. Okay, maybe I didn't get into him enough. My father was a drug addict, drug dealer, violent drug addict. Oh my God. This guy was so bad that when he would come into the room, when he would come into the apartment, he put that key in, and I knew it was his time to come in. I was gone. I just checked out. I was still physically there, but mentally I was gone. And then they wonder why in school we couldn't focus. I couldn't. I was considered hyperactive. I was considered, come here, you. Come here, you're gonna be part of my presentation. Okay? I was considered a problem kid, a kid that didn't get along the right way. I was like, no. That it didn't feel right. It couldn't. It can't be right. That's an impossibility, right? Yeah. The dark conversation. Now remember, my father was an alcoholic, drug dealer, violent. I saw him doing things to my mother that, well, I'll tell you, choking her out, breaking teeth. He was physically abusive to her. He was the, reason why we have Me Too. One of them. Now, I never knew the relationship between my grandfather and him. My father didn't know his father. He met him a few times, but he never really, you want to go over there? No, it's too high. Hold on. He never got a hug or a love or I love you from my grandfather. Okay? And I'm not telling you that to, man, dude, your life sucks. No, it's just part of the conversation. It's going to lead to something. It's going to lead to something like this. And that's why we're here. To understand the language. See, I didn't understand that language when I felt my father didn't care about me, because that's what kids do. When you're not there for them, they turn it in on them. They can't speak the language of dysfunction. Okay, they just can't. They don't know what addiction is. They have no idea what a run is, or having to get that fix. They don't understand. All they know is that he's not here. I remember days where I sit in the front window. Maybe some of y'all can identify. And I was waiting. 2:30, I was there at 2:15. He's coming at 2:30, so I'm waiting at the front. Looking down, where's his car? 3:30, 4:30, 10:30. Next day, I'm still there. No cops. And he did this for years. And my mother took him in. Would always take him in. She was a great codependent. She was really good at it. But he did it. Now, this picture of my graduation was after I went through my demons. See, because you can't become something great without help. You can't. There is no, oh, it's me. It's we, it's us. So, checking my dad, he's like, why is he kissing her first? Checking my dad. He was much better at this time. See, he went through his demons. He cleaned himself up. He's now 35 years sober and pretty amazing guy. He did his master's at Fordham University. See, all the while, I got to about 19, all right? I played football in high school. I was in drama. I was trying to be something more than him. I was never going to be him. I didn't want to be associated with him. When he would come to my games drunk, I'd say, yeah, that's my friend, or that's my uncle. I didn't want to look like him. I don't want to be a part of this man, but I was. That's the conversation. So what he started to do is he started to take care of himself, and he started to get better. And I had to do something because I was a mess. I had a lot of addictions. This old guy, that's Brother Piggott. He was the counselor that intervened into my life when I was a sophomore. And he said, Mark, just let's have a conversation. And we talked. And we talked about painful things. He helped me to understand the difficulty of why, when, and how this person wasn't there. He took time with me to just be. And it was amazing. 25 years sober, and I went to his funeral. He was a great man. But he didn't look like me. And, you know, growing up on Saturday mornings, I was always looking for that superstar, that superhero that was Puerto Rican man or Dominican, you know, Superman. I mean, I wanted somebody that identified with who I was and what I felt. And I didn't find that, especially in the world today. So let's get back to what my dad was doing. My dad was putting his life together. He was putting that light together. What light am I talking about? Here, inside of all of us. Can I ask you guys a question? Do you have a big family? Yeah. Do you have a big family?
It's just me and my sister. It's an immediate family, but it's complicated because like my
Don't get complicated on me. I ain't got that much time.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could say it's big, but
Yeah, with everybody. You say, I'm talking about everybody. Cousins, aunts, uncles, extended family, right?
it's big.
And see, when my family was huge too, and we'd always get together. It was funny. We never could stand each other, but we'd get together anyway. And the first 3 hours were cool. And then they started drinking. Then they brought out the dry goods, you know. And next thing you know, people are fighting. And that was normal. That was normal to this kid. That was normal to this teenager. Why would you even want to be part of that? I don't know anything else. How am I going to be part of something else? So, let's get back to Dad. Dad started sending me birthday cards, calling me. Dude, I don't want nothing to do with you, bro. You don't get it? So at 16, I had my football jacket on because I was full of me, you know. Captain, quarterback, number 12, you know. And a 38 in my pocket. See, because at the age of 14, I arrived. I started working at 11 in a deli. I arrived at 14. I was working in the clubs. It was cool. At 16, I was a bouncer, taking guns off of people. 007s that were knives this big when you open them up. It was cool, man. I was getting respect. I was getting money. I could do whatever I wanted to. I thought I was the shit, okay? And what I was scared. I had no principles of living. I had no understanding of who I was. You looked at me funny, it was on. I was a scared little puppy. I was exactly my dad. And that's where I got introduced to alcohol and drugs. Oh man, it's great. Free booze, free drugs, free sex, oh, it's great. But the problem was, I didn't have myself to begin with, and then I lost myself. Again. And now I'm further from even understanding the spirit that we all have. But he was cleaning himself up. He's out with his girlfriend. And the way I met her was very funny. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. There he is. Now, does that man look like he's broken? That was his graduation day from Fordham University. And by the way, I played football for Iona. And this is when I was still running. He came to the game and he had FU. You know, the thing that dangle, you know. I'm like, I play for Iona and I'm your son. Yeah, but I go to Fordham University. I'm sorry. He was happy. And he still is. I'm very proud of him. Now, how is it that I had that 38 in my pocket and I was going up to his house and I was going to kill that man? How does that happen? How do things change? See, what I was going to do is I was going to take out that 38, put 2 holes in his stomach and watch him bleed out because of all the anger and fear and frustration and guilt that I had and how much I wanted this man destroyed because he was the reason why I was messed up. So glad I didn't do it. I was on a train on 207th Street. It was the one train. I remember it like it was yesterday. Something said, I don't know if it was my conscience, if it was my higher power, if it was God, Allah, I don't know who it was, but a voice said, go home. It was so. Go home. So I went home. I took the train. I went back around, and I went home, and I broke the gun up and threw it in the river. It was a very symbolic thing occurring with me at that moment. Very confused. very much in darkness, a lot of pain. So he kept thriving. Yeah, that's him, third from the left. He started doing things that basically equaled life. See, he was into martial arts before, but when you drinking and smoking and you, I mean, it's kind of a little off, you know what I'm saying? Here he was, and this is in Puerto Rico. This is one of the dojos in Puerto Rico that our organization would go to. And I love when she does that. It's so cute. And my father started to thrive even more. His little light started becoming bigger fire. I don't see this very much. I don't see a father, especially Latino fathers and Latino sons, having conversations. We had some doozies. See, my father once beat me for 3.5 hours high on an 8-ball. He beat me like a man, because I couldn't read. I got let back in the 4th grade. First time I hit a teacher, all right? Thought I was bad, you know, because I was bad. How can I be good when I'm faced with all this bad? Why would I be good? That's ridiculous. I'm going to do what is taught. Here she comes. Here she comes. Here she comes. And what's my job? To receive her. You're doing good, girl. Just like we rehearsed. You know like that? So like I said, he was sending me all types of stuff. He was birthday cards and, you know, I didn't want that from him. I wanted him to leave me alone because he was scared. All right? I didn't want anyone touching me because I knew something was going to happen with this situation. I knew he knew me. He could see through me. And then I was homeless. 23. Unemployable. Addicted to drugs and alcohol. The drugs wasn't that big of a deal because if I was a drug addict, then I'd have a problem, right? But if I drink, I'm fine, even though alcohol's a drug, right? It's the biggest drug. By the way, in my employment, I was once a police officer. I'm an ex-police officer. I never shot any black or brown people, okay? Just because you can, don't do it, all right? All right? You ready? Okay. Oh. And you know, like I was talking about my darkness, I had 2 calls I could make. One was to him, one was to my mother. My roommate kicked me out because he was crazier than I was. See, I always hung out with people like him. It's amazing. What we don't want, we seek out. Why? Because that's what I was used to. That's what I was connected to. So I called my mother. Mom, listen, I ain't got a place to stay. Can't come here. She always took me in. I was so mad at that woman. Best thing she could ever have done for me. I only had one more call to make. I only had about 45, 50 cents. It was him. So I called him. Oh, you come here? See, he was sober, and he was working, he was going to AA, and he was doing all these things to build himself up. Because he knew there was a problem. He messed up everything in his life. He couldn't do anything about his father, but he could do something about him. And one day he hit his knees. That's the conversation we had one day. And he said, help me. And he got help. It wasn't the help he wanted, it was the help he was needed to get. And sometimes that can be really difficult. No, I want it like this, all right? I want the Lamborghini in yellow, not white. It doesn't come that way. The work comes. And that's what came with him. And then one day he decided to get married. He asked me to be his best man. Because see, what happened was, I went to his house, and you know, the time I called him, I didn't go. Because you gotta be a good drug addict and alcoholic, you know. Yeah, I'm gonna be there and not show up. That's what he did to me, right? So I get there on a Friday, it was a Saturday, and he has Chinese food in the fridge, so you know, I took care of that. I was hungry, you know. I've been on the street for the last 2 days. He had Haagen-Dazs vanilla Swiss almond. I threw that down too, you know. And as I'm throwing that down, he walks in with that woman, my stepmom, Millie. Or for all the Latinos in us, Mildred, okay? They walk in with a video. Remember the videos, the VHS? Oh, is that too much for y'all? Well, he walked in with these old tapes, okay? And they want to get down, all right, and watch a movie and have some food, you know? But here I'm on their couch, this broken alcoholic, 23 years old. So they were just like, don't worry about it, relax. It was a studio apartment, okay, with a loft bed, okay? There wasn't a whole lot of room to move. But he was cool with it. Nah, son, don't worry about it. Don't call me son. I'm just staying here because I ain't got no other place to live. So for 2 weeks, I detoxed in his house. Didn't go anywhere. And one day he says to me, hey, Mark, want to come to a meeting with me? Okay, I'm 23 years old. I'm addicted, unemployable, can't finish college. He invited me to a meeting with all these old guys in trench coats who were smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. I got there and I saw beautiful, healthy, loving people. I was also carrying a weapon. Don't you hug me, man. I don't know who you are. Trying to film me or something. How scared I was. Key word was. So, things have changed. Like I said, I became a police officer. I played college football. I was crazy as hell right there. I was fired up. But I was able to do a lot of other things. This is my dad right here. Some of our senior black belts. That's Mr. O'Neill and Caesar. That's my new sensei, Johnny Guerrero. He's Puerto Rican and Dominican. And that's where my son was at, and we just got promoted, right, son? Oh, speaking of my son. Son, come here for a second. Don't trip over the little girl. Right. Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Who takes you to the bus in the morning?
My mom.
Where's she at? That's your mom? I recognize her. Who picks you up every day?
You.
And who am I?
My father.
That's right. Oh, let me ask you a question. Are you a follower? Are you a leader? Who do you lead?
Myself.
Who do you listen to?
My mom and me listen to myself.
And that's why we're here. To build from that conversation that was never. If you didn't have it, that's okay. One day you might. See, for 16 years, I prayed that my brother would be present with my father. He stopped talking to my father. He didn't want nothing. He wanted to sit in the pain and the suffering. He wanted to be that. And I let him. Then one day I was getting married to this beautiful Latina, because I said one day, I'm going to marry a Latina and we're going to have Latin kids, boy. I'm telling you. I'm going to represent positively as a healthy, upright, stand-up Latino. And I'm going to do it the right way. This ring does not end. There is no end to it. And one day when I was at the gym, a lady says to me, why don't you get all them scrapes buffed out? And I'm like, those scrapes are there for a reason. Sometimes marriage can be rough. And it can be amazing because we work at it. That's why she's here. She's my business partner. We run 2 companies together. She runs one, I run the other. We support each other. That don't mean we don't get it on like, no, you. But we have a conversation. It never becomes disrespectful. It never becomes curses. There you get it, oh, there you go. Don't worry, one day you'll get it. All right? I know you got no kids, man. It's all right. Man. You're a work in progress. Good for you. Smart man. My wife and I, we got married at the age of 38. I was 38, she was 28, right? Or 29. But I know our anniversary is November 27th. That was celebrating 13 years. Don't give me that look. Now let's have a conversation about business. Like I said, my wife and I, we run 2 companies, and the reason why we run these companies is because we believe in helping other people. All right. The funny thing is, Latinos and people of color, they want somebody to give it to them. They know Donald Trump's up in here, right? You didn't get a big loan from daddy, right? No, we don't even have, I didn't have that money. When I went to my dad, I said, oh, this sober thing is great. Where's my money? He goes, I ain't got no money. But the reparations of you being not there. Are you kidding me? Here she comes. Oh, she got the leg. What's up? You ready to come up? You ready to rise and show them how to do it? Yeah. Next slide. So, is business about money? Yes. It's about making money. Why are you in business? You want to just give charity? Charity starts with you, your family. You give to you. You create for others. I got these guys, and that's about it. Now, a psychologist once said, if your mother and your wife are drowning, who are you going to save? Mom, nice knowing you. We got a future together. And that's just real. Yeah, it sounds tough, but that's my mama. Well, she, I hope, can cut the strings and let you go into your future and become the person you are meant to be. And that's contingent on you as well. That's business. That's good business. We have a spirit, and if we implore that spirit as well as knowledge and information, now understand this, we don't just have a business and that's it, just like we just don't have a marriage and that's it. We work at it. I read books because my son is a young boy. I started reading these books that talk about the progression and growth by two psychologists of this young individual. Is everything in that book something I'm going to use? Probably not. But there may be a few things that I can apply. He's 8 years old now, and it's amazing. I'm on book 9. Because if you read 8 while you're in 8, you're late. Right? Yeah, that was good, right? See, I fixed that, and it still came up wrong. Fulfillment. People can have money, property, fame, fortune. And I can prove it. Here's the evidence. Anybody know Robin Williams?
Yeah.
Personally? I set you up on that. No, I'm kidding. You know Robin Williams, right? You know of him.
Yeah. He did with his dog fight.
Yes. Robin Williams said that he was going to be a TV star. Robin Williams said he was going to be a movie star. Now let's get back to TV. He said he was going to have the #1 TV show, and he did. Mork and Minnie, Before Your Time. Yeah. Don't believe me? Go on you. Oh, the ladies know. Nano. Oh, Nano. That's right. Check it out on YouTube. That's correct. He said he was going to make movies, funny movies, and he did. You know, there are places in the world that everyone knows this man because he was beloved. I got this story from a guy named Tony Robbins who trained us in Las Vegas. Oh, baby, you weren't there. I was there. Amazing training. We talked about Robin. He was a friend of Robin's. Robin Williams was rich. He also said one day, I'm going to win an Academy Award on a serious movie, Good Will Hunting, that he did with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. You know where you are, where that money's going, okay? #1. Do you guys worry about money?
Yes.
How many of you are working to assist your family? Look around. Half the room. And that is the beautiful spirit about being Latino. We care so much it hurts sometimes. But the reason I talked about myself, because I wanted you to understand that this person is going to lead. So can you. And you, and you, and you. We're all leaders. Did somebody help you with your clothes? And this morning, did they put them on you and brush your teeth? And no. No, he ain't Puerto Rican. Sorry, you know, he's Italian dude. That's cool. Because he has the spirit and the heart of us Latinos, okay? He said to me, Mark, if you ever, and he's younger than I am, but he's done things that I have not done. And he said to me, Mark, is there anything you ever need help with? Yeah, can I live in your house? Hey, you didn't go for that. Is there anything that I can help you with? I will always be there. He was actually the guy I wanted to have come speak to you. Because I felt that his magnitude of success, but then somebody said, no, he can't make it. What are you doing? Said it. So here's another individual This is Derek Brooks, and that is my boy Justin Smith. See, Derek Brooks is an amazing man. He's no longer with us. He died on a road that was full of snow, and he was going to a charity event that he was supposed to speak. He was that guy that put miles and miles on his soul to help people because he cared about people. And he was a figure from the NFL, and he was a star. These guys won the Super Bowl against the Raiders. And Justin, you know, I was supposed to go to the NFL, all right? I had a gun, I played quarterback, and I had my acceptance letter from Villanova. Peter Talley, Coach Talley, you have been recommended as a scholar athlete, and we would like to extend a full scholarship to you. So then the coach tried to father me, but remember what I was. I was 18 years old, full of hate and anger. So I gave him I gave him one finger from this hand and told him, you don't need to father me. And then he picked up the phone and said, Coach Talley, you know that prospect I was going to send you? I don't think he's coachable. And he was right. So then I met Justin, and he helped me out tremendously. He probably still doesn't know. But this was Justin, and this is what we do in terms of my business, in terms of helping people. Yeah, he handsome as hell, man. I hate standing next to this guy. He handsome as hell. Justin, man. I mean, blind ladies throw their numbers at him, man. But that's us. And he's cool. He's down to earth. He's a business partner of mine. And we learn and we grow together, and we help people to get better. And that's really what life is. I want to be fulfilled in every single area of my life. I've done a lot of wonderful things, and it was a direct result of looking inside.